Hi. Good morning. My name's Tessin from NTF Architecture and Brett Nixon from NTF Architecture. So D'Esterville is a contemporary family home situated within a heritage-listed residence of state significance. When approaching this project, we felt that the adaptation of such a grand architectural building deserved a response that was contemporary and bold in its approach while having its own identity within the heritage architecture. One of the key challenges in this building of such important significance was that all the heritage fabric had to be retained and any work that we did needed to be reversible. Over the past 160 years, D'Esterville has undergone numerous alterations and additions, many of which have eroded the original heritage fabric. These plans were produced prior to a renovation in the late 1990s and showed that there was a multitude of small spaces to the northern service wing of the home, both on the ground and first floor. Conversely, these existing conditions, which were prepared when we begun the project, show that a lot of this detail had already been taken out of these spaces and that they had really been opened up with a lot of the heritage detail removed. Fortunately, a lot of the grand rooms at the front of the house were still very much intact. So while these grand front rooms were intact, they felt unlivable and unwelcoming to our client, and the current renovation to the northern wing of the building was very subservient to the original architecture and didn't have a strong identity of its own. Additionally, at this time, a lot of faux heritage detailing had been added to the exterior of the building. So in the work that we did, we focused our attention through this northern wing of the floor, which became the family wing. So the front rooms of the study, parlour, sitting room and formal lounge were very much left intact, and this was thoughtfully modified to create spaces which were more intimate in scale and suited the scale of a contemporary home and a busy family. A series of openings on this northern facade then lead out to the north-facing garden. One of the things we encountered when we started the project was that this northern wall stepped in and out a lot between the different spaces. So one of the first things we looked to do was square up that wall so you had a really seamless transition between the spaces along this passageway. And on the first floor becomes sort of the family's quarters. So the northern wing has been dedicated to their children's bedrooms and bathrooms and a large master suite. On the western wing, which gives each member of the family their own space. So the grand entrance hallway has been freshened and modernised. We used just white paint throughout, which really highlights the detail of all the heritage plasterwork and architectural detail, and then modern furniture soften these grand spaces and make them more accessible. Contemporary lighting throughout really alters the scale of these spaces, meaning that in the evening when the lights are on, these become really intimate environments and they become much lower in their height and more welcoming. And so the use of contemporary furniture makes these spaces, which our clients and their family feel really comfortable in, amongst all the grand heritage detail. So as we move through the vestibule here, this is where the home starts to transition into the more contemporary northern wing. So these dark blue painted walls which we inserted identify where we did the most work, where we built new walls and shifted some of the interior layout around. In this long series of spaces, the dark blue helps to give identity to more of the intimate family spaces. So whether it's a casual TV lounge or a study for the kids tucked in, they have a bit of relief from the large scale of the front of the house. These spaces then lead into the large kitchen, which is really the centre of the home and then connects back to the front of the house. So in the kitchen, we used steps in the existing wall to create the perfect spaces for contemporary joinery units, so a steel-framed bar unit, for example. Then we also used the opportunity on the other side of a steel door to conceal some of the existing heritage doorways and give them a modern look so that they matched in with the joinery we were proposing. And the use of steel and reeded glass appears in a lot of the elements throughout so that we had a really consistent language and that any elements that we encountered within our new our new intervention felt like they were part of the same alteration. So again, the steel shrouds we used throughout with bluestone thresholds, where we were transitioning between spaces which were largely intact and spaces which we had done a lot of modernisation to. So passing from a really intact, beautiful sitting room into a modern dining room, you pass through a deep reveal. And the fineness of the steelwork here really sits in quite a counterpoint to the heavy bluestone architecture of the original building. So again, these deep reveals which lead out onto the north-facing garden and also provide a lot of light into the interior, which also gave us a great opportunity to integrate more seating into these areas and to really punch out into the space and give more amenity to the inside of the house. Additionally, upstairs, so a similar treatment to the first floor hallway is given to the heritage detailing here. And again, when we move from some of the bedrooms into the modernised bathrooms, you again see that steel reveal, so identifying that language throughout the home. When we were looking at the master suite and how this was reconfigured, we encountered a heritage doorway, which we were no longer wanting to use, but because of its nature as part of the original building, we needed to retain it. So rather than conceal it within a new wall, we chose to integrate it into the bathroom and then design the rest of the space around this detail. And again, in the bathrooms, we used the same language of the steelwork and reeded glass so that each room, again, feels like it is part of the same project, so that even when the tones of the palette shift from cool greys and the dark blue to a warmer, younger palette, it's still identifiable as being the same piece of work. And additionally, the adaptation of a World War II air raid shelter, which was found in the grounds, to a wine cellar, creates another great amenity for the house and keeps this, what was previously being used as a water tank, into a really useful space and adds another layer of history to this building. Thank you.